Hey guys, welcome back to OverTakes. This is Misfit.
And I'm Kel.
And we are here with the final part of our hot takes on the rosters of 2020. Kind of a hot take, initial thoughts on stuff before we deep dive into everything. We want to give you some stuff before the holidays. So if you're on YouTube, please hit a subscribe, hit a like. It would be greatly appreciated. Everybody else on Podcast Land, thank you for listening. And we're just going to dive right in. We're doing these back to back. Didn't really have much news going on. So we left off with the Gladiators. Let's hit the other Los Angeles team. The Los Angeles Charger Valiants.
Charger Valiants.
The Valianters. Okay, they're absorbing all of the honestly, the colors are both teams in Los Angeles football. Yeah. Because, the legacy baseball and basketball teams were not worthy. Yeah. They're more the Clippers anyway. But red, white, and blue wasn't an option, I guess.
There's already a team with those colors.
Oh, God. Good God. At least, hey, Houston fans, I found a new team to bash. Yeah. There you go. Jesus. All right. So let's dive into this. Oh,
so, God. Some returning players, I guess. And basically KSF and Shax
and McGravy
are all returning players, but they all came halfway through last season. This team is a mess. They're not going to be good. Yeah. I don't know what else to say.
And I feel bad saying about these guys. There's potential for something. I don't know what that something is, though, man.
Yeah. I really don't either.
KSF and Shax are okay.
How bad they were last year, at least to start. They did start to get a little better towards the end, but then they lost half of that part of the roster. It's just...
They got rid of all the good parts of that roster. I think it's going to be another
really rough start. With hope, basically their best case scenario is what season 2 was for them, and that's not very good scenario.
Yeah, I know, and everyone says that they're trying to say they're not going budget. I tend to believe everybody else. Yeah, and it's nothing against the guys that are on the team. No, but when you look at it, it's on paper. It is essentially an above average contenders NA team with a couple of Korean guys on there. To me,
yeah, that's about how I see it too.
I have no hope for this team really. They're possibly bottom 2. Yeah. There's really not much to say else about them.
Somewhere in the bottom 5 is about where I'm seeing them. All right, let's move on from the Valiant to the New York Excelsior.
Who did some interesting stuff in the offseason.
For sure.
I think... what I think is going on with New York is it's kind of a changing of the guard. I think we're keeping some core spots here with Mono, Jonak, Animo. Mm-hmm. I think you're going to see Libero getting moved out. I think you're going to see, Hotba, I think eventually is going to get moved out for Bianca.
Yeah.
And I think Who Are You is going to kind of pop into that Libero spot.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I think Nene is probably going to be a mainstay. Really, the big guys that you're going to see most consistently is Mano, Jonak, and Animo.
And Animo, yeah.
And even then, Mandu could be a guy that kind of creeps in there as well.
Yeah, after he's eligible at some point, I think you can see him in there. I think they're kind of doing a San Francisco style reset, but they have good players in the positions that they're trying to fill with better players. If that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. I wasn't a big fan of them getting rid of Meko, but I understand. Yeah. I from what reports where he wanted a lot of money and all this stuff, and they picked up Hotba, who will do a good job. Absolutely. He's not Meko, but he'll do a good job.
He will be serviceable until I'm assuming that basically they want him to be serviceable until Bianca is ready.
Yeah, that's my thought, and I think the same thing for Libero right now. He's going to be the serviceable, in there serviceable, do what he does until Who Are You is ready to come in full time.
Yeah, agreed.
Because I really think they're going to run Who Are You Nene by the middle of the first half of the season. I think you're going to see a lot of Who Are You Nene. I think Jonek's obviously not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, basically what I see from this team, they're going to be top 5 again. They're just too good, and they've been too consistent to really be bad.
Exactly.
In all honesty,
too many good players. Like saying Libero is on his way out and he's not as good. I don't know. He'd start for every other team. Basically,
yeah. There's like maybe 2 teams in the league that he wouldn't start on.
Exactly. And I think, barring anything weird, they're going to be right where they were.
Exactly.
They might drop down a little bit, but
I think
much.
that honestly might be for the best for this team to kind of have a little bit of adversity, so they really have to fight and get that kind of championship mentality back. If they really want to go on a big run, and I think that they definitely have the potential for that.
Oh, definitely.
And I would never be surprised if and when this team makes a run.
Yeah,
because it's going to happen at some point.
Yeah, and they're going to finish the job, and I think bringing some of the guys that they brought in are going to finish the job at some point. This year, don't know. Next year, definitely more of a possibility than me.
But I can't rule it out for this year at all. Yeah,
they're going to be in the playoffs. There's no doubt in my mind.
Agreed.
There's no way, especially if you get into a meta where Jonak can do Jonak things.
Right.
Or maybe we move off of Jonak and let him be a support.
Yeah.
And let DPS do DPS things. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see.
Which, with as much as we like to talk about Sabiobi and Pine and those guys, Jonak was their carry, and maybe you need an actual DPS to do the actual DPS at some point. And I think maybe Who Are You and Nene could do that, because Nene, everyone gives him shit for that Grav.
Yeah.
But he played really well throughout the year. He had some moments where he was kind of off, but you're new to the league, so
exactly. I have no issues with what this team is doing. No. All right, let's move on to the next team, and that is the Paris Eternal. Yeah, I have no idea what to think of this team right now.
French, Korean, whatever's going on. So they made some changes, and they kept some guys, and they're trying that San Francisco Season 1 thing too, it seems like, because the 2 guys I think they're banking on are Sparkle and Hanbin. And they're not eligible till later in the season. I think Sparkle's like in May, I want to say. I'm not totally positive on that.
Something like that. But they won the Sparkle sweepstakes.
Yeah. And Hanbin's really good too.
Mm-hmm.
They brought in No Smite, and they kept Soon, Nico, Ben Best. Okay.
Yeah,
and Smex is just kind of filling the spot for Hanbin until Hanbin comes in, really, is what's going to happen there.
Exactly.
Eggsy is another guy they picked up from Element Mystic. They're going to be a weird team, man.
I think they have potential to be good, but I gotta see it before I can really make any kind of opinion on this team.
Yeah. I think initially they're going to be hot garbage.
Yeah, that's kind of how I was thinking. Like, as long as they don't have, like, a disastrous, like, win 0 games in the first like, probably 8 to 10 games. If they can just stay either a little below or around 500, I think they can be good. and set themselves up to go on a big run once Sparkle comes in and once Hanbin comes in, because then I think they can really take off.
Yeah, I do too. I think they're mid-pack because of that factor.
Agreed.
I mean, we're kind of thinking along the same lines with them. It's kind of a weird start. And it's kind of all right, we're going to keep some of the older guys until some of these other guys come in, and we're going to see how this works.
Exactly.
We're kind of going Korean, but we want some French guys on the team, so the French fan base doesn't hate us totally,
right?
Kind of thing.
We have to have some kind of European affiliation.
Yeah. To start, it's going to be rough, I think.
Yeah, that's kind of how
as long as they can survive some of it.
Yeah.
I think they'll be okay. Their ceiling, I think, is getting into the play-in just because of that.
Yeah.
So
that's about where I'm leaning with them. So
which
probably,
is better than what they did last year. So I guess you got to call it an upgrade.
Yeah, absolutely.
Plus they got Sparkle.
I'm really excited to watch him.
Yeah, so am I. We'll call that an upgrade on them.
Yeah,
we're rapid firing through these guys. So
let's move on to the Philadelphia Fusion then.
Okay, don't know what to think about this team.
Yeah, I mean, they had the monster pickup in grabbing Fury. I think that's a huge upgrade, just because.
It's really the only upgrade, that and Alarm.
Yeah,
I kind of thought they were going to pick up, but they were going to bring Elk into the fray as well.
Yeah, but it seems like they kind of went in a different direction, and they're going Funny Astro. But I do think that Funny Astro and Alarm can be a really good
I think it can be a good combo. Maybe run Boombox where you need to. I mean,
yeah, you kind of do that where you need, but until, I feel like it's going to be primarily Alarm, Funny Astro as your support line, which, hey, you can do a lot worse than that. And then, I mean, obviously we know what they have in their DPS line in Carpe and EQO.
Yeah, and then they kind of are solidifying it with Hisu. He's underage. Mm-hmm. And Chipsa in case you need Doomfist.
And you also have Ivy as there as well.
And Ivy as well.
So I think they really solidified their
dude,
DPS. He is. I really think he is one of the more underrated DPS in the league. So I think that's a pretty good move. Where they're really going to struggle is their tanks.
Main tank.
Picking up a guy like Fury, is it going to be enough? What he brings to it going to be enough to cover Sato?
And it depends on what Sato has to play. I mean,
yeah,
you know what I mean? It's in that there could be a situation where you're running Poco and Fury.
Yeah.
You know, if you're running some sort of, you
run Poco on, maybe you run Poco on either.
Because I think
Orisa.
Was Fury running Ball?
I think Fury, he did run some Ball. I think he also ran
Orisa,
some Sigma.
Sigma, yeah.
I think he was running some more Sigma, so I think you'd probably have Poco go with some Orisa. And actually, honestly, Sato is not a terrible Orisa.
No, he's not.
It's definitely better than his Rhyme.
Where he got a lot of flack for his dive tank play.
Yeah.
You know, playing Winston, had to play Ball, and his Reinhardt's marginal at best.
Yeah.
But his Orisa wasn't terrible.
It
wasn't on the bumper level of what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, God.
Bumper playing Orisa like you should play Orisa now.
Yeah.
Like, basically. If you gave Bumper the keys right now and said, go play Orisa like, you're playing her last year, he would be phenomenal.
I mean, that's still a player that doesn't have a team yet.
I mean, it could be a landing spot for him.
It really, honestly, could be, and I would not be surprised.
They would have to get rid of one of their 17 DPS players, but
they have one more roster spot that they could put him on.
Where do you see them? Because I'm having trouble. I don't see them bottom.
I definitely don't see them bottom.
I don't see them top either. I guess they fall in that. I see them
kind of right where they were, and that's that kind of middle of the pack with that real big potential to flop or that potential to just destroy everybody and go on a big run and possibly even win it all, go to the championship again. Like the sky is the limit for this team, but the dumpster is also like the sky is their ceiling, but a burning dumpster is their floor.
Yeah.
Like
the one thing they got going for them is there is a high potential of DPS players that Carpe and EQO are good at.
Yes.
Being viable.
Yes.
So, because they were the hard carry in season 1.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you get in a situation where you can do Hanzo, Widow, or Hanzo and anything Carpe can play.
I mean, you getting EQO
Pharah.
on Hanzo in general is just always a good.
Yeah,
it's always
any
a
kind
good
of projectile that you can play EQO on that doesn't involve Mei.
Yeah. Yeah, that's.
I think that's select few people
one
that are good
thing.
at Mei.
At least to start, that they're really going to struggle with is they do not have a good Mei player.
Yeah. As far as we know.
Ivy might be that guy. So we could see a lot.
Ivy
of
seems like
EQO
one of
and
those guys that can pick up a hero pretty quick.
Yeah.
Because guys, if you forget, he was kind of the hard carry playing Zarya for Toronto in stage 1 of last year. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Ivy could make his way in, you know, if you get into some kind of weird meta where you need a Mei player that's above average, which you're going to need. Yeah,
for sure. All right, so Philly, I think we kind of see them middle of the pack with the real potential to be really, really good or really bad. But I still kind of see it kind of being that tumultuous middle of the pack season. Yeah. Let's move on to the reigning champs, the San Francisco Shock.
They didn't do anything except for get rid of Nevix.
Yeah.
Who went to Toronto.
But they really didn't need to. I mean,
no.
This team is set up for long-term success.
I don't see any problems this year either.
Yeah.
Main tank could be the only thing that you have something to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
But Super in the World Cup it looked better playing Orisa than he did playing last year.
Yeah. And so. I think between Super and Smurf, they have enough to cover the main tank role in a good enough way that the rest of the talent on the team covers up for it.
Well, because you have Choi that can play anything.
Exactly. and you have one of the best off tanks in the league, if not the best.
Yeah. Versatility-wise.
Yes.
Current, because a lot of times we say best off tank, we're talking diva.
But I mean, with Choi,
he can play any of them
on any tank, and I would be like, give me that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every time. He's just that good.
Yeah.
And then they have an incredible. You have like one of the most versatile players in Rascal. You have a really incredible DPS lineup in general, and then you have your incredible support line too. Yeah. Like this team is just stacked top to bottom.
And Valiant didn't get enough credit last year. I don't think
he really didn't.
Honestly, I mean,
we could definitely see him not really getting much playing time because you're probably going to be like, I want Rascal playing Baptiste right now because. Baptiste is that powerful, and he's that good at Baptiste that I feel like you want him playing that character.
You might not see Moth.
Yeah.
Because if it's a meta where you have, like guys have been playing, where you have Bap and Zen, you're going to run Rascal Violet. You know, and that's the thing. That's the stupid thing about this team right now.
Ridiculous. I mean, and then you're going to have
so you have Lucio,
Striker, and Architect on top of that.
Yeah.
Like, what do you like? This team is just it's unreal. I mean, they're going to be
top three
for sure,
minimum.
Yeah.
That's their floor is 3.
Yeah.
And in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because whatever meta you throw, you're going, all right, you got this whack meta. All right, so we can run Super on Orisa. We run Chohyobin on whatever the fuck. Or even if you have Ryan Orisa, you mean to tell me that Choi can't play fucking Orisa?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, your supports are Zen, Moira. Okay, so we run Violet and Moth. Well, what if it's Baptiste? Well, then we run Violet and Rascal. Well, what if it's, this? Well, we run Rascal and Moth.
Yeah.
Well, what if it's just like every what if is covered.
It really is. And then same with all your DPS. You have literally every DPS covered between Sinatra, Striker, Architect, and Rascal.
I mean, you have two guys.
I mean, you forget about how good of a player you have in Striker. You forget about how good of a player you have in Architect. You forget about how good of a player you have in Rascal and so many different characters.
Yeah. I mean, you know what you got like in Sinatra. I mean, it's like... Okay, so you throw like all these metas in, you have a guy to cover every fucking bullshit thing that happens.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have projectiles coming back. Well, Rascal can cover, Pharah and Genji like a beast.
Right. And then any other ones you'd put Architect on it.
Yeah. And if he can't cover it, well, throw Rascal in there.
Yep. Well, yeah. You're just set. This team is stacked.
And Sinatra can play
sure.
Any hit skin that's available, and if you really want him to play, if Zarya comes in, you have Ryan Zarya, you run Super Sinatra. Well,
absolutely.
No, you'd sit Choi Hyobin on the bench, though. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd want to do that.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's still even a possibility. That's something they could do, and I feel like Choi would be willing to do it. Like that's
the thing.
Also,
too.
The other thing is all of these guys have fully bought in, especially now. Because I think, like, even though they won the championship, I just don't see this being the type of team that is just like satisfied with that.
They're kind of they kind of have that Patriots vibe about them with the we're still going to keep coming at you. They're going to spawn camp you.
We're going to go win it again.
Yeah.
Like
they're going to do we're up 3-0 or 2-0 or however it's going to work now, and we're going to spawn camp you anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Because fuck you. That's basically
just never letting go of the throttle.
Yeah, which
that is this team.
Which amazes me that Boston let that guy go.
I know, right?
He is the Bill. He's the Bill and Check of the Overwatch League, and Boston let him go.
All right, let's move on to the team with probably the biggest facelift of the whole offseason. And that is the Seoul Dynasty.
Yeah,
or the Seoul Spitfire.
they're like one of those people that's on a reality show and goes into the fucking plastic surgery and comes out looking like a different person.
Exactly.
Heidi Montag or whatever the hell her name was. 15 different fucking surgeries. Anyway,
from their original roster, and that's Toby.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that. But I mean, I think they found a pretty strong base last year in guys that I don't think anybody really expected. When you had guys like Michelle, Marvel, Fitz, all really step up and come up big for them.
I mean, even guys at times like Illicit did some stuff.
Absolutely.
But then you bring in my guy. Profit.
Yep.
And you bring in Gesture.
Yeah. Like,
man.
Yeah, this team has so much potential to be absolutely stacked and just really go big.
If they don't finish top 5,
massive disappointment. Wrong. Yeah.
And I said this to you earlier. If there's a chance where this meta with the Hanzo Mei thing, if Hanzo's meta, Profit will be the MVP of the league.
Yeah, period. If Hanzo's meta for a long period of time, the majority of the season, Profit will 100% be MVP. I'm with you.
He is going to wreck people. He does it anyway, but last year was kind of like a you saw glimpses of what Profit was.
Right.
And I think at times, he carried that London team that was just fucking not in last year. He carried them to whatever the hell they did. I 100%. Think he's going to do it for this team as well. And you throw Gesture in there too, and they're playing at home.
Yeah, watch out.
It's like this whole perfect storm for this team. And
the one big question that I have with this team is going to be their support line. I like Toby a lot. I think he's a very good player. But is Creative going to be the guy that's going to elevate them?
Yeah, that's the thing.
And I think he's an incredibly good player.
And it also I keep saying it. Who's got the Baptiste?
Exactly.
Because you got to have. It's almost like you have to take a DPS, kind of like you did with Zarya.
Mm-hmm.
You almost have to take a DPS guy, unless they like. Now there are guys that have probably solely been playing Baptiste for a long time because he's been out for about a year now.
Yeah,
because he came out roughly. You got to figure out who's going to do that, because I don't know who's going to play it, Toby or Creative, but I don't know. They have the biggest ceiling.
Yeah.
Any team. They should finish in the top 5. If they don't, I don't. Something's wrong.
Yeah. Then they, if they don't finish top 5 this season with the best roster that they've put out there to date, then there is something wrong as an organization.
Yeah.
That they have, and that's pretty much it.
Then there's the mid '80s Yankees.
Exactly. All right, let's move on to the Shanghai Dragons, another team that actually made quite a few moves this season.
Yeah, and quite a few good ones. Some of them were questionable to start.
Mm-hmm.
The one guy that was not a carry, an integral part of what they did last year was Gamsu, who left.
Yes,
I think that was a big thing. They brought in Fleta, who's gonna. I really want to see Fleta and fucking Prophet just wreck the league.
Yeah.
Okay, so you put Fleta on probably top 3 DPS line in the league with Ding and Dian.
Yeah, I think that really has become. I mean, it was already a strength for them, but they just completely solidified that.
Yeah. As
their primary thing. Like, this team is going to be incredible on DPS.
Yeah.
Between those 3, DM, Ding, and Fleta, like, holy crap. What a ridiculous. And then you still have Dia on a 2-way contract, too.
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
not forget.
And Dia, he's really good. I would love it for that dude to get a chance again. Mm-hmm. Because he was one of the shining people on that crap hole roster in season 1. Now they got rid of Koma and Youngjin, but Youngjin got replaced by Fleta, so you really can't say anything negative about that.
Right. But they picked up Izzyaki, which was a really good pickup for them. And you have Luffy, who was a really solid support for them last year. I think one of the more underrated supports from last season. So I think that kind of balances it out for them.
Yeah, especially if you have a Zen meta, a non-goats kind of Zen thing.
Yes.
Where you're really not doing anything with Zen except for holding your ult until, you're discording and holding your ult until someone throws a grab down.
Right.
But yeah, I think he's gonna. I think you're gonna see a lot more than we did last year with them.
I think the biggest question this team is going to have is stand 1 as their main tank. I think he's a really good player, but is it going to be enough?
Yeah, and then you have Void in there, and they still list Envy and Geguri.
They do.
Now, on that little exhibition they had, Geguri played some main tank.
Yeah.
But at this point, I'm wondering if she's kind of a Mickey type figure on the team.
Yeah.
Where she's like more of like kind of a face that's not playing, which is unfortunate because I think she does have potential to, if someone gave her a shot again, not a shot, but I think she could be serviceable if she was allowed to play some in certain situations, I guess. I don't know where I'm going with that. I would like to see her play more. I guess.
Yeah, I agree.
My boy Envy, he just is in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, because now you pick up a guy like Void, and you can't not play that guy.
Yeah, because he was one of the sole reasons why the Gladiators did anything last year. After going back and going over like matches and looking at stuff and all that kind of shit. He was one of the reasons, oddly enough, that they actually made it to where they did, and people weren't giving him enough credit because there were situations where he didn't look good, but it wasn't him,
right?
In my opinion, they got to figure out maybe what to do at Gaguri and Envy. I'm assuming they're going to release at some point.
I would think so as well. All right, let's move on from Shanghai. Or actually, where are you going to put Shanghai?
I'm putting them in the playoffs. It seems like I'm putting everybody in the playoffs. Like play-in.
I'm feeling like they're probably going to be...
Play-in.
I feel like they kind of are going to take a little bit of a step back. They're going to be like right on that edge of the playoff, or the play-in, and not making the playoffs at all.
Okay.
That's kind of where I'm seeing with this team. Because they can have the potential to be really good, but I think they can also just kind of fall apart. It's
outside of their DPS. What are they going to do?
Exactly, and that's really the big question. And I don't know if they have answered that for us.
No, they haven't.
And that was because that was the question going in the off season, and all they did was the big thing that they did was solidify their off tank. It reinforced their strengths.
Okay, I'm going to throw this out there. This is a weird side thing. I'm on Wikipedia, and I keep getting these ads for Pokemon shirts. They're dress shirts with Uber-like patterns with Pokemon characters on them. And I might have to own one now. I don't know if it's subliminal, it's fucking penetrated my brain, but
fair enough.
I might have to get a Magikarp fucking button-down shirt. I'm not lying. Guys, this is... I'm not advertising for them. We get nothing from this, but yeah, Pokemon shirts is a thing.
Fair
by
enough.
Original Stitch. So, and they're pretty fucking awesome, actually.
All right. So let's move on to a team that we both like, and another team that really made a lot of changes to their roster going into this offseason, and that's the Toronto Defiant.
Yeah, let's talk Toronto. All right. So last year started off really good, and then went into the crapper really fast.
Yeah, real quick.
It was like as soon as Stellar left, who was the glue to their goats.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as he left,
just fell apart.
Yeah, he was. And you guys can hate me for saying this, but he was probably top 3 brig players in stage 1.
Yeah,
and for whatever reason he left. So let's move into this year. We have a lot of changes on this team.
Tons.
But so
basically from top to bottom, like almost a brand new team. So you now have your tank line is Beast and Nevix.
Formerly Beast Halo.
Yes, formerly Beast Halo. Which, I mean, it's probably the biggest question mark for this whole team.
For me, Beast hasn't played really a lot in a year.
Yeah.
So,
and same with Nevix. Nevix really hasn't gotten to play too much. I'm glad that he's going to get a chance because I do think he is a really good player. He just was, unfortunately, at the bottom.
Behind Choi Hyobin.
Yeah, exactly.
And, season 1, we were like, why are they not playing Nevix? Why are they playing this Choi Hyobin guy? Season 2, we figured it out. Why?
Yes, we did. So, yeah, tank line is probably the biggest question. But then you look at their support, or their DPS, and you have Logix really being the only guy returning. But then on top of that...
And Magnechu, because he came...
Magnechu. So you have Logix and Magnechu, but then you add in Agilities and Surefour, and all of a sudden this team looks much stronger on DPS, and I really think has the possibility of really making a splash. And having a really strong DPS line overall.
Oh, for sure. And you have guys that cover all... It's kind of the San Francisco mentality with this.
Yeah.
Maybe a little light not quite as powerful as San Francisco is. But you have Sure 4, Agilities, Magnitude, and Logics. You pretty much have every DPS covered.
Absolutely.
For whatever meta comes in.
Mm-hmm.
You need a lot of hit scan. You have Logics and Sure 4. You need your Pharas and your other weird stuff. You have Agilities. If you need way off meta heroes, like you have Magnitude. So, yep. I mean, you got like kind of all the bases covered in DPS. I don't see this being a problem for them at all. I'm pretty sure Sure 4 is going to be in there all the time.
Yeah.
Majority of the time, I think you're going to see Sure 4 Agilities.
Yeah, I would say it's going to be a pretty even split between Logics, Agilities, and Sure 4, depending on which characters come in. But I do think that those are going to be your primary guys, with the occasional Mangachu. If Mei is like a huge must play, I think we see a lot of Mangachu to start, especially because it seems like that's the way it's kind of leaning.
Yeah,
I think their DPS has the potential to be top tier. For sure. I think they have a really underrated support line because Kelix is a really good pickup for them, and he's a very good, just solid main support.
Lucio, solid Mercy. I would assume if you're going Baptiste, though, I think Kariv might be your guy.
Yeah,
just because he plays DPS.
Definitely. But I think Kelix can fill in whatever other spot would be there. But Kariv is definitely going to be your carry support.
For sure.
Your Zenyatta, your Baptiste, that type of character for sure.
Yeah, Anna, obviously.
Yes.
The sleep darts and all the whatnot.
And honestly, if Anna's going to be in there, man. How do you not put Kariv on that? But if it's like Anna and Anna Baptiste, you probably have to go Kariv on Anna, Kelix on Baptiste. That's the one thing I could see.
Baptiste is like, but
that's the one thing I could see kind of being an issue. I don't see that really being too much of an issue because we know how valued the alts of a Zenyatta or a Lucio are for these guys.
The supports are pretty flexible right now. You can kind of work around any of them.
Yeah.
Whatever you're good at. If you have to have Kariv play Zenyatta, Kelix can play a Moira. I'm sure he can play Lucio, obviously.
Oh, yeah, he can play Lucio.
But you know what I mean? If you need the bigger burst healing kind of person, Kelix can do that.
Yeah, I see this team as a
play-in.
Yeah, a middle of the pack play-in with the potential to be better than that. Yeah. But it'll be mostly kind of a play it by. We'll see. But
it's definitely an upgrade.
Think that middle part of the whole league is going to be just as messy as it was last year.
Yeah.
And I think it's just going to kind of come down to who gets hot at the end of the season, but this team definitely has that potential.
For sure. They just the tank line scares me a little bit.
Yeah.
Initially I was like really hot on it, and then you got to stop and think and look. The DPS is the best part of this team. Along with the supports are really solid.
Yes.
But is it all going to? My whole thing is it all going to come together?
That's really the big question.
I definitely think they're going to be better than they were last year for sure. There's no doubt that they're not.
No doubt in my mind.
Yeah, and we'll be there in April.
Yes.
Throwing that out there for you guys. So if you guys are going to be in Toronto, hit us up. We'll hang out, talk, all that kind of stuff. All right. So let's move on. We have 2 more teams left.
We have the next up. We're going to hit the Vancouver Titans.
This could be a whole show in and of itself.
It really could be. So for the most part, standing pat, minus a few key things. So Tizzy left. Propel left, obviously. We talked about him earlier. Hurrig left.
Bumper's
so that
gone.
put them at 6. And then Fissure joins the team. The next day, Bumper leaves.
Yeah.
So
I see that as kind of a calculated thing.
Oh, most definitely.
You guys kind of know what we feel about Fissure. I think we've said this like a dozen times, it feels like.
Yeah.
This is either going to go really, really good or really, really bad.
Yeah.
And they signed Jae Hong as well.
I feel like this is basically this is either a Terrell Owens to the
Eagles.
To the Eagles.
Yeah.
Or a
Terrell Owens to Dallas.
Or let's say Terrell Owens to Dallas because that did not go well.
Yeah.
Or it could be actually I was thinking Randy Moss to the Patriots.
Yeah, where they just stomped everything.
Where it's just like they got the best out of that player and they just rolled.
Yeah, and Fisher's really good, but I keep saying this. I don't know how good he is outside of the dive.
Yes.
Maybe that was because last year he was trying to play a different way than what Soul wanted to play.
Yeah.
So it just didn't seem very much in sync or anything like that. And I'm not knocking...
He just kind of wanted to do what he wanted to do, and Soul wasn't... Yeah. He wasn't trying to fit in with the team. He wanted the team to fit in with him.
Yeah. And that team at that point was very, very set in their ways. Kind of, They all played together. And wow, this sounds familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah. Right.
This is why I have concerns.
Same.
But that being said, I don't know who said it. It was one of the other podcasters. It might have been Ed Nar from Heroes Never Die. Bumper plays aggressive and stupid, but like I'm paraphrasing, but Fissure plays aggressive and is calculated in what he does. Basically, yeah, they're both aggressive, but Fissure's not playing a dumb style.
Yeah,
of
I can see that.
I don't think they're going to go anywhere. That being said, as much concerns as there, I don't see them dropping.
Yeah,
much. They might lose.
As many concerns as I have for this team, I still also feel like they're just too good for this to. Because honestly, I feel like they probably have a guy in waiting, just in case things do go bad. And then they can just walk away from Fissure. They don't have him on. They don't have that guy on the roster because they don't want to. They want to make sure that they can make the Fissure thing work. But if it doesn't, I feel like they have a guy that they're going to go with, and they'll make it work.
Which they can call up Kaiser in like 2 seconds, and I'm sure he would join. But I think they're making Fissure. Also, they're boosting his ego and like, look, you're our guy.
Exactly.
And he hasn't had that. Like, he kind of had that with the Gladiators.
With the Gladiators, yeah.
But they still had iRemix there. He's the only main tank on this roster.
Yeah.
So they're saying, look, we're throwing everything at you. You do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
So from that aspect, I think it's going to work.
Yeah.
But there's always the other shit. The diva, not the character, the being a DIVA, not a D.VA. That concerns me. But
yeah,
depending on what the meta is, I mean, Fissure can, he can work around stuff. I'm just not sure on some of his heroes and this has been my concern. Some of the heroes that he plays. Is he going to be a good Orisa? Can he play Wrecking Ball? These are the things that, these guys need to play. The only caveat to that is Janu has always had the best Wrecking Ball on this team if they ever got into a situation where they were running that.
Yes.
And if they ran dive or you did Winston ball, they would be unstoppable.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see this team really falling apart, even with the potential of a fissure breakdown. I think that it probably just affects them for like a week or two, and then they just get right back up, pick up somebody else, and dust their hands of it like nothing happened.
Yeah. I think they're going to have more losses than they had last year. I'm looking at like 10 losses, not like 4 or what.
Probably falling into...
It's still in a top 5, 6.
Yeah.
They're not going to be in that play-in thing.
Yeah.
I don't think.
No way. They're going to be a top 5 team, hands down. If they make it work with Fissure, then they're probably a number 1 or number 2 seed. If it goes bad, then they probably fall to 4 or 5.
Yeah.
So let's move on from Vancouver to our final team, the Washington Justice. Another team that actually made some pretty decent moves this offseason.
Yeah, they did. I'm still on the fence.
Yeah.
Their tank line is odd. They picked up Roar. I
think overall it's better.
Yeah, but they picked up Roar, but they had Elevote and Lulsish that they picked up last year that couldn't get visas.
Right.
So I'm assuming they're going to start those two.
Yeah, I would think so.
Now, the one thing that, I mean, they're solid kind of all the way around. The one part of their team that I think is absolutely, and it's not going to be what you think I'm going to say, is absolutely one of the best in the league is their support line.
I honestly was thinking the same thing.
Arc and Aim God. Because a lot of people are focused on their DPS.
Which is going to be really good, because Corey's a god.
Yeah, and Stratus is really good too.
Stratus is really good too, but...
And especially with the meta that's going to happen right now, if you got Mei Hanzo, those two guys are sick on those characters.
Gross. I think they could really... Like, this team, I could see them starting really, really strong. It'll be how that carries out throughout the season will be kind of where things could go bad. But I think that they could really start off strong.
Yeah.
And look like a team that is here to play. But yeah, I'm with you on the supports. Fantastic.
I just like the Arc Aim God. I think it's going to work really well. And they both speak the same language, which also helps.
Huge.
And I have questions about the tank line just because I haven't seen, honestly, I've never seen Elevote and Lulsish play.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm assuming they paid a lot, they paid for them last year and brought them in. I'm assuming that they're going to play. Roar, I think, is kind of like a safety net.
Yes.
I think I think he kind of had a bad fit with the Gladiators too. I don't think that helped because I know he's not a terrible tank. It just, a lot of things did not work out with that. He was kind of feeding at times. I mean, we made jokes about that last year. Where do you see this team?
So I see them getting off to a really strong start, but I kind of see that plateauing as teams figure them out, and then they kind of, I don't want to say fall apart, but they just kind of
fall back
and kind of plateau, and they aren't able to really get over the hump. So I see them as kind of a low floor with the possibility of getting into the play-in. Yeah.
I see them anywhere from sneaking in the play, like somewhere between 11 and 15, 14.
Yeah.
Just because everybody else's game has been upped for the most part, minus a couple teams that we talked about tonight. But yeah, they're an odd. They're a team I want to watch play a lot. I want to see what happens, especially early.
Yes.
And just a side note on their schedule, they're the only team in the league that doesn't leave the country, the U.S. That is.
Yeah. So crazy.
So that's an advantage just from the whole. You don't have to go to because if you're going to China, you're doing like a whole swing. You know what I mean? You're going to do a couple of different things out there. You don't have to go to Europe. You're solidified in the United States. That's a big deal. I mean, yeah, you have some European players and you have some a lot of Korean players on the team now.
Mm-hmm.
But from the standpoint of like grounding yourself, and they're one of the teams that has 5 home stands too.
Yeah.
So
I do think that's going to be a really strong advantage for them, for sure.
Yeah, and they have the least amount of travel because they're like you're like in the East Coast, you're like right in the middle. So if you go, you go to Philly, you go to New York, you go to Boston, you go to Florida, you go to Atlanta, those kind of places. It's just you're just kind of bouncing around a little bit, a couple hour flight here and there. You're not like going like.
I'm pretty sure they travel like
the least.
They do travel the least, and they have like because I mean there's some teams that are going to be traveling over 70,000 miles.
Yeah, if you look at a team like Vancouver or like San Francisco, they got to travel a lot.
Vancouver, San Francisco, Florida has to travel quite a bit. I think I want to say one of the Chinese teams has like an insane amount of travel they have to go to.
Because I mean, you're like, there's 3 teams in China or whatever, 4 teams in China. China's not small,
right?
It's like bigger. It's like. I forget the landmass like size. It's quite a bit larger than the United States even. So you're traveling all over that country. I mean, you got like 6-8 hour flights or whatever. That's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that are falling into place for this team, like outside of what they did. I like I said though, I'm still looking at them 11 to 15 somewhere in that range. Because, not to be weird, someone's got to be bad. And I think some of the teams there's no way they're going to be bad. If they are, that's really just, it makes no sense. Exactly. Like, there's no way you're going to go, well, New York is going to be terrible. You know what I mean? But we're going to dive more into that in the next couple of weeks, guys.
Yeah, for sure. Like, expect us to do our power rankings going into the season. We'll dive into that a little bit. This year. I don't know if that's going to be a full-on thing we're going to do every week, but at least to start the season, we'll give you our power rankings kind of.
And with the way the schedule is, look for more of like we did in season 1 where we did match review kind of things, because there's going to be a lot less matches, so we can break down some stuff a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure.
Talk about, players in the match, stuff like that. Last year it got weird with the way things were, and to be honest, there were no plays really, like, other than a few that you were like, yeah, let's talk about that, because now we got kind of DPS back in the mix, and hopefully we get some more cool stuff to talk about and that kind of thing. Not that last year was terrible, it wasn't as exciting as season 1,
right?
Let's just be brutally honest there.
Exactly. All right, so keep an eye out for all that stuff. We got these couple episodes coming out this week. I will be on vacation next week.
I still hate you.
Yeah, well, you just went to Italy, so no sympathy for me.
I really can't complain.
Yeah,
but Vegas is my jams.
I feel it.
That's my.
It's not like you're not going to go within the next year or 2 anyway.
Oh well, probably in the next somewhere in the spring.
Yeah, that's what I figured. All right, so that's going to wrap it up for that, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, if you are on YouTube, to give us a like, a subscribe, comment on the video, share it anywhere you can. All of that kind of stuff really helps us a lot in all the algorithms and whatnot. If you are on a podcast, or if you're listening to the podcast, please give us a review, a rating, whatever system is in place on your podcatcher of choice. Thank you so much for everything and that you guys all do. We really appreciate it. Join us on Twitter. We'll probably have some comments and whatnot of things coming up. Definitely going to be watching some of the breakable barriers this weekend. Join us in on some of that discussion. Thank you guys for joining us. Too. Don't forget to join us on Discord as well. And thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will catch you guys in the next one.
We'll talk to you guys later, and have a good holiday, everybody, whatever holiday you're celebrating this week.
Yes, for sure.
And we'll talk to you somewhere in the new year. Later.
Later, guys.